And we are back with yet another Game of the Year 2022 deliberation here at Shacknews. And this time around, it's time for the Modojo Shacknews Mobile Game of the Year Award. This goes to the game that we all love the most on our cellular devices, the things we keep in our pockets that have all the world's knowledge and information, but all we do is look at their strat pics on Twitter and Instagram. And when we're not doing that, we're playing some games. And this year, there's definitely one game that I think has stuck out more than any other for a lot of people on staff. But I think I'm going to let somebody else take the lead here, because I know that both Donovan and David probably have a lot to say about one of the nominations in this category.
Yes,
I was not the target audience for this game. I'm not really into to Marvel or superhero stuff in general. I've played card battlers off and on since Magic in 1992 when I was in 6th grade, but none of them have really clicked. But I saw Donovan chatting, got some chatter from Donovan about this. Ozzy was playing it too. And I was like, all right, free to play. I'm going to give this a try. And I was actually, Asif was playing it too and was texting me about it. And I've sunk some money into this game. I am hooked on this game. I think it's fantastic. I love the tactile feel of the buttons. It's maybe the only app on my app phone that's ever made that 3D feel a worthwhile feature. To me, I love the deep strategy involved in the different deck types. I was telling Donovan over the weekend that I built a move deck because you play in three areas on the playing field, and some areas can appear more often than others. And one area this past weekend favored move decks. I'd never tried one. It was a great time to try, and I had a blast. I just absolutely love this game. The types of cards, the strategies available, and I think what really appeals to me is Magic is great, but games can get really long and drawn out. I've played like half a dozen games of Snap in like 5 or 6 minutes. Like, it's really fast, but it's not shallow for that. It's a really deep game, and I'm just having an absolute blast with it.
I'm not one for mobile card games at all, honestly. I am a huge Marvel fanboy. So I think Snap appealed to me from that aspect. Yeah, but yeah, once I started playing it, it's a game that you can definitely get it hooked on quite quickly because of how quickly the matches go. Last night I was in a Discord and we were hanging out playing some Rocket League or whatever. Then we stopped. 3 of us were still hanging out. One of them being Asif. Like, we were all just hanging out in the Discord, not really talking to people because we'd all grabbed Marvel Snap and we're all playing rounds on our phones suddenly. Yeah, it's definitely, and it was like the kind of thing where I had stuff to do, and I'm just like, well, that was so quick. I can just do one more match. And I did like 3 or 4 more matches before I finally got up to do what I had planned to do originally.
We take breaks between categories. I've played 2 matches of Snap between every break today. It's like the perfect amount of time to get in a couple matches.
Yeah,
The
pacing of it is outstanding. Blake, you speak to being a Marvel fan. Some of the way that they use that Marvel Comics library and that years and years of history in the card design, it's brilliant. And I came to it from the perspective of a Hearthstone player, and Developer Second Dinner was a lot of those former Hearthstone developers. And I thought, okay, how are they going to follow up what they did with Blizzard? And what they did is just so imaginative and also really novel in the way that these games, that, like David's saying, these games go so fast with both players taking their turns at the same time. And I'm also one of those guys who falls down the rabbit hole and goes one more game, and then that one more game suddenly turns into 20 or 30 more games, and then suddenly I've blown like 3 hours of my night. So just the addiction factor of Marvel Snap and what they have coming, because they've got a lot more seasons lined up with different. I don't know about deck type ideas. I mean, I did like what they did this past season with Wong and Black Panther, and being able to like double your stats and everything. I want to see what they do with Power Cosmic. But just the potential that this game has going forward, I'm so in for the long haul.
As someone who's played
Yeah.
all of like trading card games, I've played Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, I've played Transformers TCG, I play Pokemon TCG, I play Magic. It's really fascinating to me. Hearthstone, it's really fascinating to me how they're monetizing the platform. Where like the thing I absolutely loathed about Hearthstone was that they gave you random packs, and if you got something you didn't need, you can disenchant it, and they gave you GameStop used value on the disenchants. So you'd have to disenchant $400 worth of cards to get a new $100 card. So it was like ridiculous. I hated that. And this game, they're really generous with card types. There are no packs. You can visually change your cards with premium currency. You can buy individual cards that you know what you're getting for individual currency, and I can really appreciate that from a TCG player in general. Not having to buy packs to try to shuffle through cards or have to spend hundreds of dollars to get an individual card. I Magic the Gathering, like that is a really cool idea, and I hope it lasts because I don't know how monetarily successful they are, but I love that system of just I pay for what I want when I want it instead of having to shuffle through an RNG nightmare of packs, you know?
Mm. I love the visuals in Marvel Snap. It would have been perfectly fine if all the cards were like original artwork that they made, but that they pull like classic comic book artwork. Like I think just yesterday I saw Beast from the X-Men. He has an alternate artwork that's the original Beast from like Uncanny X-Men #1, where he was just like a big human brute looking dude. And I'm like, that is such a cool like nod to the character's past. And you can say that for almost every character in here. And they shine light on obviously the biggest characters. You've got Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain America, but even like the most obscure characters, like even me as somebody, I consider myself a Marvel fan. A couple characters have popped up in this game. I'm like, wait, who the hell is that? But I love
You
that.
said
I
that
love
about
how
the
they.
Infinite a few weeks ago on
I
Twitter.
did, yeah, yeah. Infinite. I was like, who is this character? And there have been a couple that have had me do that, which I think is dope. Because again, this could have easily just played into like the biggest, hottest Marvel characters right now, because there are a lot of them. But it does a awesome job at highlighting that endless library. And I think somebody even asked Ben Brode, the game director, on Twitter, like, "Are you guys worried you're gonna run out of characters one day?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Not a chance. There are thousands and thousands of characters in the Marvel
Yeah.
universe to
And
go
I
through,
think Greg and
and they
I
keep
asked
making them."
I think Greg and I asked them about potentially feeling handcuffed by the MCU and that whole thing,
Yeah.
and they've got the freedom to go with whatever they want, and you can tell that they're huge fans of that whole of the decades of Marvel Comics history. Uh,
hmm
Donovan, you're speaking to like a lot of the variants and stuff. I liked a lot of the visual effects, and
Oh
some
yeah,
of the
man.
cool visual effects that you see for like a lot of these cards are just like so cool. And I even said a few weeks ago, if I get Galactus off a random pull, I could be winning across the board. I'm gonna play it anyway and risk losing because that effect when you play Galactus and he blows up
Insane.
the other two locations is just so damn cool. I love it every
And
time.
Mhm.
that's the other aspect of it. Like, as somebody who collects nerdy stuff and has a real penchant for Marvel stuff, I have a shit ton of Marvel collectible cards from when I was a kid and stuff like that. You know, a few years back, I bought like the entire X-Men Series 2 trading card set, like in a collector's tin that I found somewhere. But like that aspect appeals to me a lot too. There's cards I want, not just to play them, but just because they're like, you know, some of my favorite Marvel characters. I want a Squirrel Girl card. I definitely want a Galactus card. I got to get a
Yeah.
Wolverine card. You know, even if they're like not useful in my deck, I want that in my collection, which I think is something that you don't really see with a lot of digital card games a lot of times. You know,
And
the collectability factor isn't there as much for me, at least personally.
and in some ways that'll challenge you to build different types of decks. Like like you, I want to play Magneto. As soon as I got Magneto, I'm like, I want to find a place for this. So I like went to a new deck and I'm like, okay, where am I? What would work best with Magneto? And the fact that it gets your brain working like that is really cool.
Yeah,
hmm
and that's the thing with
There's-
Magic and Hearthstone too. Like you're spending the majority of the gameplay shuffling through your deck to find the wombo combo. Like that's half the game. In Magic, it's like almost the full game. With just filtering your deck, drawing cards, trying to get the right combo of cards. You don't have that problem in Snap. Like the deck's so short, you don't have to filter it out. There's no wasting time drawing cards, and discarding your hand, and drawing cards, and discarding your hand, and doing all that shuffle. They go straight to the best part of the game, and I think they learned a lot from Hearthstone, like Ozzy said, because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it sounds like a lot of us are enjoying Marvel stuff. I honestly do not play a lot of mobile games, but
Same,
like
same.
Me neither.
yeah, like the hype around Marvel Snap like really clicked with me, and yeah, it's sunk its teeth in. I started on one device, like an Android device, and then went to my iPhone, and I have to like start over my whole progression and stuff, which like I normally would have just stopped right there, but
They
I was
have
like,
some
no,
kinks they need to work out.
yeah,
I was asking Donovan, like, I installed it on Steam and it had me start from scratch. And I asked him, like, I thought this was like account bound. And he said, you should be able to log in eventually. And like, after the tutorial rounds, I was able to log in. But that's kind of a big deal, right? Because one of my issues, one of the reasons I don't invest in mobile games is I remember back in like, I think 2010, uh, this Dead Space mobile game came out that kind of fit between Dead Space 1 and 2. It was really good, but then my Gen 1 iPad like died and I couldn't get the save files. There was no cloud storage back then, obviously. So that game I was just like, man, I don't want to do this again. So the fact that Snap, I just log in with my Google account. I guess I could play it on any platform and just have all my cards, on my decks. And I have to say, just to kind of speaking to Blake and Donovan and Ozzy's point, when I was a kid, I collected Magic cards as my friends played, and they all dropped it, and I was just stuck with a bunch of cards that were kind of worthless to me. I prefer to invest in digital stuff these days, but I treat my phone like a card. Whenever I unlock a 3D effect, I'm always sitting there like
Yep.
just like kind of in wonder, like you would with an actual 3D card, just to check out that movement. It's also, I think this is the first mobile game I've ever played where I actually have to choose graphical effects, like 60 FPS, high res. I'm like, yeah, all the way. Because like 2 weeks ago, I got a new iPhone 14 around the time I got into this game, and I'm just like, I'm loving it. So it like bridges that gap between the digital and physical CCG. I'm just this game has just rocketed up my game of the year list from having never played it to the next day being like, I'm obsessed with this game.
Yeah, it's
oh,
gonna make
yeah.
my top 10 for sure. Mobile game or not.
All right, I know we have a couple other nominations, and I feel like we could keep talking about Marvel Snap all day because it's everyone's digging it that much. But I want to make sure these other nominations get a fair shake as well.
Yes.
Let's see. I think TJ, you had a nomination.
I did. Streets of Rage 4 came to mobile this year. And it's a good port. Like, it's actually a working, functional, good port. Streets of Rage 4 was, I think, if it wasn't in number one of my game of the year list in the year it came out, it was easily in my number one of indie games that came out that year. So I would be remiss if I didn't rep Streets of Rage 4 again. I love that game. I love everything about it. I love the fact that it came to mobile and it works, and it's just another cool way to play that.
That's cool. I mean, I guess my question is, does it use the virtual controllers?
It has options for both. You can either do a Bluetooth controller with it, or you can use the on-screen. It has on-screen controls.
That's probably where it's gonna lose it for me. Like needing like a external controller or trying to like play it with my giant thumbs taking up a bunch of screen. Like for mobile experiences, like personally, doesn't really uh do it for me. But that's just me. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It's such a good game. It's nice to have another option, another place to play it, for sure. Um, Great soundtrack, great graphics. Another solid .emu game, which we were talking about Shredder's Revenge earlier. Like they just know fighting games or brawlers, basically, really. But let's see who else has a nominee. It looks like we just have an honorable mention here.
I have a couple of honorable mentions. I definitely wanted to mention Octopath Traveler: Champions of the Continent, which looks and plays a lot like the Octopath Traveler that you see on the Switch. And I think that you can, the fact that you can actually get that and port it to an iPad and have it like running on Unreal Engine and have it look that good and play just as faithfully as what you would get on the Switch, I thought that was quite an achievement on Square's part. And the only reason that I'm not championing it as much as Marvel Snap is it kind of hits you over the head with the free to play elements. So I'm not too keen on that. And the other one that is worth mentioning is Apex Legends Mobile, which came out this year. And we're living in a post Fortnite world when it comes to Apple and Android. So that you can have a shooter like Apex and actually make it work and make it feel as good as it does. I thought that was a great achievement on, I believe that's EA, Respawn, and Tencent, Lightspeed, and Quantum. And it actually just won an App Store award for best iPhone game. So good on them for that.
Well, cool. Sweet. I'll definitely check out that Octopath Traveler game as soon as I finish Octopath Traveler on Switch, which will be never, probably. But maybe one day we can dream, right? And with that, do we have any other nominations or deliberations or arguments that we'd like to make for any of these nominations or another nomination? If so, speak now or forever hold your peace. Your peace shall be forever held. Now it's time to get down to the voting. Donovan, why don't we start with you?
Marvel Snap.
Marvel Snap, I am entirely in shock. Gregums.
Yeah, Marvel Snap.
TJ?
Same with Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage for always sticking to your guns. I respect that. Ozzy Mahia, where are you going, baby?
Marvel Snap.
All right. Morgan.
I'm gonna go with Marvel Snap.
Oh, snap. Huh? Get it? Because Marvel. Okay, great. Bill Lavoie, my
Marvel
pride
Snap.
and joy.
Sorry, I jumped in before you were done. I should have let you finish. It sounded good for me.
I said Bill Lavoie, my pride and joy.
Marvel Snap.
All right, there we go. Sam Chandler.
Marvel Snap.
Oh, snap. Do they even have so mobile devices in Australia, Sam?
We get to share a couple, like the
Can
Switch,
you play-
like a Steam Deck? Yeah.
Can you play Can you play Marvel Snap down there? Does it have a different name like Marvel Snappies or Marvy Snaps? Or
Yeah, we got
anything
Snappies.
like that? Snappy Snap.
Takes the edge off of Thanos, you know.
It really does.
Wolverine's just called Baby Dingo.
Marvel Snap on Steam Deck sounds like a dangerous set of video game drugs to just keep in your pocket all the time.
Ooh.
I'd say so. I'm surprisingly voting for Marvel Snap, which may be the only mobile game I honestly wholeheartedly played this year, to be honest. Steve T, what's going on with the Funky MC? Marvel Snappies. You're playing the Australian version, huh?
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently. All right, David O'Craddock.
I have an addiction to Marvel Snap.
Oh, that you do. And last but not least, the mad villain Denny Von Doom.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be pretty obvious, but yes, Marvel Snap is mine.
Wow, and with only one outlying vote for Streets of Rage for mobile, Marvel Snap takes it home. Unshockingly to just about anyone who has probably had the chance to play it. If you haven't, definitely check it out. Marvel Snap is the Modojo Shacknews mobile game of the year 2022. The gavel has gavelled, and thus it has been spoken.
Avengers! Wakanda forever!
Next time, I'll try to break a sweat.
Oh, snap!